Hello, hello, hello. This is WSOE 89.3 Elon Burlington. I'm everybody's favorite undead radio host, DJ Dead Air, and I'm coming at you with another great show. As you know, every week I spin the cosmic records over to another corner of the multiverse for all you lovely listeners to tune into. The tapestry of universes is vast and ever-changing, but the one constant is that in each and every one, Sam Porozok hosts a radical radio show with a kickin' co-host. This is the Sam Porozok _hour, and I'm your multiversal MC. Now buckle up and get ready for a trip to the movies. It's jump time.
Let's take a trip across the multiverse, see who's got it better, who's got it worse. All I know is there's no other verse, so let's get ready for the show.
Presenting the Sam Porozok _hour.
Hello everybody and welcome to another wonderful week of the Sam Porozok Movie Hour. So happy to have you guys listening in once again. We've got my wonderful co-star, Ben Hawkins. How are you, dude?
I am great to be here, Sam. Very excited to be talking about, I'm sure you'll tell us what we're going to be talking about.
We have a lot planned for you today, dear listeners. As you know, every week, me and Ben, we bring you the best, the newest in movies, cinema, and all things industry. And, as always, we've got a great show for you tonight. Okay, so it's time. I think it's time for a great segment where I thought we could talk about some of our favorite movies, Ben. The movies that have made us.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so if we're talking about favorite movies, right?
Yes.
So I'm aspiring to be a director, as you know, and now everyone here knows. And so when I think about, my favorite movies, I always think about, like, my favorite directors and who directs them and everything. And so for me, my favorite director, the one that inspires me, the one that I aspire to be is Christopher Nolan. So if we're talking Christopher Nolan films, right? Dark Knight movies, Inception, Dunkirk, The Prestige, like these are the movies, intricate, winding plot lines and everything. So, I mean, if we're talking favorite movies, that's exactly where I have to start, but I don't know about you.
I want the audience to know, by the way, that not only do I have a list of my favorite movies on standby, but I have a list of guesses for what Ben's favorite movies are. I've got 3 that I feel will probably be hit upon. But let's jump right into it. Do we want to alternate maybe?
Sure, go for it.
All right, so, in no particular order, I would say, so one of my favorite movies of all time would have to be Back to the Future. I know it's a little bit basic, but, it's a favorite. It's a fan favorite for a reason.
It's not basic. It's a classic. There's
so
a
good.
distinction.
And I love the whole trilogy, but I think the first is definitely the strongest in concept.
First one's actually the only one that I've seen. I've not seen Back to the Future 2 and 3, but I mean the original. It's the original, right? Everyone. If you have not seen Back to the Future, what are you even doing? Okay.
So, as most of the viewers at home probably know, you've got Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown. You've got Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly. You've got Thomas F. Wilson as many different iterations of Biff, who's so good. He's Biff, he's Griff, he's Mad Dog Buford. And he just does a spectacular job portraying all these guys differently. And, I personally would love to be a screenwriter. I work on scripts a lot. That's partly why we do this movie show every week, Ben.
Yeah, we're both writers,
Yeah.
We got some great ideas up here.
We got a couple cooking up in here. But one thing I really love about Back to the Future is that it is one of the most efficient scripts I've ever seen, because almost every single line they mention comes back later to help them. They talk about lightning striking the clock tower, and then later on they have to use that to get back to the future.
Hey, roll credits.
But yeah, it's just so good. I mean, it's got a great soundtrack, great cast. As you said, you've not seen the other 2. So, first one, Marty goes back in time, has to. So what's your number 1?
My number 1 movie of all time?
Yes.
All right, if we're going number 1 of all time, it makes me a nerd, but the Lord of the Rings movies by Peter Jackson, my personal favorite out of the 3 is The Return of the King, but I mean, the whole trilogy, right, it's one story, it's one entity to me, and I mean, there's just something about it. The atmosphere that Peter Jackson manages to create out of what is already considered like an amazing story.
Yeah.
I just think is incredible. Like, I mean, like the costume design, like they shot in beautiful New Zealand, which happens to have like every landscape on planet Earth, like in one little island. I don't understand that, but and like the music and just like the ambiance that Peter Jackson is able to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And then again, like I said, like it's already a well-written story by J.R.R. Tolkien. I mean, those movies really create something special that, I mean, I honestly don't know if we'll see on screen for a long time, just based on like how vivid everything is and how much it stands out from things that have been done. And they came out in like the early 2000s and still hold up now in terms of like visual quality, which you don't see very much.
Definitely. And I know that the Hobbit trilogy did not quite stand up quite as well.
Yeah, that was a bit of a disappointment. Not terrible, just not great. But
the first was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah. Like the biggest thing is I feel like with the Hobbit as opposed to the Lord of the Rings, they sort of abandoned what made them so successful. Because with the Lord of the Rings, how I talked about the ambiance and the music, the costumes, the practical effects were a big part of it too. Like I mean, there's a scene where they have like 6,000 people on horses, and there's very little CGI in this scene. I mean, they have. I'm sure it wasn't 6,000 people, but they had a large group of people ride down this hill on horses for the shot. They didn't CGI them in,
I mean, off the top of my head, the only CGI I can think of is Smeagol, the tree dudes, and that one weird shot. Bilbo does the weird, like, give me the ring!
Oh, right, yeah, and he's like, ah, yeah. Very little CGI. And the CGI holds up, like I said. I mean, like, Andy Serkis like mocapped for motion captured for Smeagol, which is very, very impressive. But see, and then The Hobbit, I feel like sort of abandoned that ideal where they really, they had a big budget for these movies, and of course you're going to spend it on fancy computer animation. But honestly, I think those movies look worse despite having come out a decade later.
Yeah.
And then if you actually read the book The Hobbit, I mean, it wasn't really a story that was written for screen or for even. It's not a grandiose epic like The Lord of the Rings is, because The Lord of the Rings was written not for screen obviously, but it was written as a grand adventure, whereas The Hobbit really is just about some people trying to reclaim their homeland. It's much more of a watered down tale.
Kind of like Ready Player One, where it's like, this is like a decent and interesting book concept, but it's really not meant to be watched.
It doesn't translate very well to screen. So Peter Jackson took a lot of creative liberties. Some of them panned out pretty well, I think. Like the whole White Council arc with them going to investigate Sauron's returning. I thought that was actually pretty compelling. And then there was some other things like the dwarf and the elf that fall in love. Like, did we really need that? I'm not sure.
Hey, they're giving the viewers what they want.
You need a good love story because, of course, in The Lord of the Rings, we got Liv Tyler and Viggo Mortensen like falling in love, and who doesn't love that, right? So they tried to repeat their magic.
All right, so number 2 on my list is gonna have to be Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle.
Oh.
Now, this is not the original Jumanji. For those out there, this is the reboot, and I can't even say the sequel anymore because there is a sequel to the reboot. But, this is the original reboot with The Rock, Karen Gillan, Kevin Hart, Jack Black. Very funny movie. I went in thinking it was going to be bad, but I just liked those actors, and it was surprisingly very pleasant.
It's just entertaining. Like there's a lot of movies high on my list. For those of you that don't know, in my phone, I have a list of my top 20 movies that I regularly update. So many of the movies in my top 20 list, I love lists. Many of the movies in my top 20 lists are movies that aren't particularly like groundbreaking. They're just fun. They make me smile, And like you said, I mean, that cast, that's enough to make it a good movie. Like they're so entertaining. It's just fun, I love that movie.
I mean, is it dumb? Yes, to a degree. But is it action packed and pretty funny? Surprisingly,
and it's hilarious. Look, if you put Jack Black in a movie, it's gonna be at least like somewhat funny to me. Jack Black is fantastic in everything I've seen him in.
Honestly,
for sure,
strong cast. I mean, I'm not a big Kevin Hart guy. He was fine. I feel like. Whereas the actors kind of acted like their kids, his kid had to act like Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
But even Kevin Hart, I think it was just a fantastic movie, very funny.
Yeah.
Just a good time.
And it also, I mean, the story is compelling enough to like keep you interesting. It wasn't like the story is like throw it out. Definitely keeps you engaged during the fun that the movie is. So.
And there's a couple of gags that I'm surprised they were allowed to get in there, like when Jack Black just gets like eaten by a hippo in the first like video game scene. Like I'm amazed they got that. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
All right, now I'm curious to see if I get at least one of yours with my 3 guesses that I've written down.
All right, let's see it.
I'll just hit you with all 3, and then we can
go for
analyze.
it. Yeah.
So Star Wars, The Way, Way Back, and The Godfather.
Okay, so we'll start with The Godfather, because it's very simple. I've actually not seen The Godfather.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. I've always wanted to see it. It's been on my watch list for like a couple of years now, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So I'd very much like to see The Godfather, and I'm sure I would love it because I've heard how amazing all of those movies are.
I mean, it's good. It's like kind of like The Shawshank Redemption, where it's definitely a good story, but I can't watch that more than like once a year. It's very long. There's a lot of emotion and drama in there.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Long movies can definitely take a toll. But I have to watch that at some point. I mean, come on. The Godfather, when you think of like notorious trilogies, that's like on every list, So I got to get there.
And then we got Star Wars and the way, way back.
Right. Okay, so I'll go to Star Wars next because this is going to be the surprising answer to Sam. I adore Star Wars, as Sam knows. Yeah, exactly. I love Star Wars. I thoroughly am entertained by every single piece of media they put out. But in terms of the movies, none of the movies actually individually rank in my top 20.
Interesting.
I love every single one, and I think they're all amazing. But I think when I think of individual movies, like none of them are really that high for some reason for me. With that being said, though, I do still absolutely love them. And I love the universe, but yeah, I don't know.
I just love the whole world.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. I'm a Star Wars hippie, apparently. But if we're talking TV shows, real quick to just divert, The Mandalorian is incredible. That ranks up there. But anyway, back to movies. Lastly, we have The Way, Way Back. Now, The Way, Way Back does rank very highly on my top 20 list. Not many people have heard of this movie. I don't want to call it indie because it's like, people. It has Steve Carell in it and like Toni Collette and Allison Janney. Like it has notable people. Sam Rockwell,
right,
who's the best actor in the movie. But it really isn't that well known. A lot of people haven't seen it. But basically, The Way, Way Back. I'm looking right now. It is on number 4 out of 20. So I absolutely love this movie. It's basically it's like a coming of age movie about a kid who's I think 13 and he goes to the beach for the summer with his mom and then the guy she's dating, and it's just about, and he's really awkward. He's like a like teenager, and we're all awkward when we're 13-year-old all 13-year-old boys or boys that were once 13 years old can identify with this. We were all awkward at this phase. So it's just about him and his life and the relationships he makes and everything. And so I watched this movie for the first time when I was like around the same age as the main character Duncan, who's played by Liam James, and there was something that really resonated in me with this character, and especially with his relationship with Sam Rockwell's character Owen. I don't know. I think there's just something about this movie that everyone can take away. It's got an excellent mentor-mentee relationship, and it really is just a fun movie. I think it's charismatic. It's got a good plot without being too heavy at the same time. And I don't know, it really has just been a movie that's stuck with me for forever.
Well, excellent. I mean, you gotta have your classics.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the movie I like to say that I like when people have never heard of it and they're like, wow, what's that about? Because then it makes them interested, right? So
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is like a favorite date night movie, right, Ben?
Favorite date night movie? Well, yeah, that actually it is a good because when you tell people you're into movies, you gotta pull out all the stocks. You can't just be like, yeah, I like Avengers Endgame, which I do, but like everyone's watched Avengers Endgame. You gotta have something that people haven't seen, right? So that makes them want to come watch it with you because, of course, couldn't be me that they're here to see, right?
Hey, you're company plenty. Now, for me personally, in that vein, I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I love it, and I watch it so frequently that I've like kind of put it on hiatus, and I'm like, I cannot watch this again until it's like with like a girlfriend, someone like, I mean, whether they've seen it before or not, like I just want it to be with someone that I can really like revel in it with,
I honestly don't know, but I see where you're coming from. I respect that.
Well, thank you.
Hey, I'd like to interrupt for a moment to remind y'all that you're listening to WSOE 89.3 Elon Burlington, and I'm incredibly grateful to them for allowing me to keep grooving from the great beyond. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Not seen Scott Pilgrim either.
You've not?
There's a lot of really random movies that I haven't seen that people may or may not know about me. I've not seen. Let's just go through the rundown real fast. Lightning round.
Okay.
Jurassic Park.
What?
Yeah. The Godfather, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim. I've not seen Knives Out. Everyone was going crazy over that like a year ago.
Dude, we just watched that. Where were you?
You watched that?
Yeah, me and Evan the other night.
Oh man.
Sorry, man.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. So there's a lot of random movies. Joker. I never saw Joker either.
I never saw that. It didn't really appeal to me.
Okay, well then I'm not alone. But yeah, a lot of random big time movies that I just never got around to seeing. So anyway, back to your Scott Pilgrim.
Well, if you haven't seen it, maybe you have to be my girlfriend, Ben, so we can watch it together.
I'd be more than happy to watch it with you, Sam.
Now, on that wonderful note, I think it's time to move on for one of our favorite weekly segments that we do here. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for Movie Watch.
Movie Watch. Absolutely. And we started off this week with...
Oh, there's a couple of good ones on our radar. Unsurprisingly, there's really not a lot being produced right now, but
fortunately so.
A few. We still got a few incoming. First and foremost, I heard about this one from my wife. Oh, God, I hate myself. That's right. We got Borat 2 incoming, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely, Borat 2. Okay, so I saw Borat for the first time over the summer.
Okay. Funny coincidence, because this summer was when he was filming Borat 2.
Yeah. I didn't even know. Okay, I didn't know that Borat 2 was coming out until a week or two ago.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone knew that. And then it's coming out in a month. It's upon us.
I don't know if I have I don't know if this is official, rulings or whatever, but supposedly they've been so hush-hush about it because, he tends to ruin political careers and stuff. So the less that people know about it before it comes out, the better.
That would make sense, yeah.
I think we don't even know who's directing it, so it's harder to sue people.
Yeah. Sacha Baron Cohen is just a comedic genius. If you haven't seen Borat 1, which Sam here has not yet seen, and we're going to watch it maybe directly after recording this, he manages to do things that are simultaneously extremely questionable but extremely funny, and they're shockingly real.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is a movie where it's kind of like Eric Andre show where he does kind of man on the street, but he's doing a persona and he just gets people to kind of show their awful side because they don't know that he's doing a bit.
Yes, that is a very good description. I would say either Eric Andre got his inspirations for Sacha Baron Cohen or the other way around. I mean, it's that is what he does. The first Borat movie is just a interesting look at the United States of America, and I'm sure that Borat 2 will be no different than that.
I'm so looking forward to it.
It is quite a rowdy comedy. That's what I was looking for.
Now that one is coming out October 23rd, so I would watch it. If you have not seen it, I would watch the original Borat as soon as you can, so you can kind of process it, get the taste of Borat out of your mouth.
There
so
is
you can
a lot to process in that movie.
Yeah. All right, so up next, and I have, I've curated this list. I don't think Ben knows what we're going to next. We've got The Mothman Legacy, which is a documentary that is going to be available October 20th. Ben, are you familiar with the mythical figure of Mothman?
I'm not.
Okay, so this is interesting. My father, David Porozok, is very big into cryptozoology shows like Finding Bigfoot and Ancient Aliens. And so there's this figure, Mothman, where, was he myth? Was he really caught on video? Whatever. People would see him before big natural disasters or bridge collapsing. And he's supposedly this gigantic humanoid figure, kind of gray and fuzzy, bright red eyes, weird wings. I don't think any arms. And so kind of a Jersey Devil type character.
Interesting.
And so this group...
It's like a black cat, but on steroids.
Yes. So initially when I saw this, I thought it was going to be fictional. And I was like, finally, Mothman's getting the movie he deserves. But it seems to be a documentary, or at least that's how they're pitching it. Maybe it will be kind of a found footage Blair Witch Project sort of thing. But, they describe it as one of the most frightening American urban myths, the Mothman. He was initially spotted in 1960s rural West Virginia, so not too far from here.
No, not too far at all.
Started some phenomena. He was seen before the Silver Bridge collapse in 1967. But what if there's more? What if the origins of this omen trace back much further and go much deeper than anyone realized? And what if the sightings never ended?
Ooh, interesting. Yeah,
And that phrasing, it's like, are you telling me that there were more sightings, or are you just like getting hypothetical about
just
it?
being ooh, but ooh, that is interesting. I gotta be honest, I've never been the biggest fan of these sort of urban legend genre.
Sure.
I mean, but with that being said, they can be very, very entertaining. So that is intriguing.
There's a lot of potential here.
Exactly. And especially because I hadn't really heard of the Mothman. I think that's like, it's not like as well known as the Loch Ness Monster or whatever. So
Right.
maybe that'll help garner some interest.
Yeah. And then up next, we have Happy Halloween, Scooby-Doo. This is coming out October 6th, just in time for the Halloween season.
I like it.
Now, interesting. Even though I personally have watched Scooby-Doo almost every Halloween, just because, it's monsters, it's guys that like to eat a ton, so it kind of fits with all the themes. But supposedly, this is the first Halloween Scooby-Doo movie.
Is it really?
In the trailer, they're like...
There's no way.
They're like, the very first Halloween Scooby-Doo mystery. And it's like, I'm thinking back, and I can't think of any other Halloween ones.
Wow. I mean, I'm not a Scooby-Doo aficionado. I'm sure
Yeah.
Sam knows much more about Scooby-Doo than I do.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But I find that incredibly hard to believe. But,
Right.
I mean, they probably wouldn't advertise that if it wasn't true, so...
Okay, now
Wow.
it gets crazier.
Ooh.
So it's the first Halloween Scooby-Doo movie. The villain that they are going to be combating is the Scarecrow from the Batman canon
This is the crossover I did not know I wanted.
without Batman.
This is the crossover I'm not sure if I still want.
It's literally like in the trailer, like the first minute they unmask him and they're like, it's so-and-so from the Arkham Asylum,
Wow.
but Batman does not show up to help at all in this movie. At least from the trailer.
Maybe they're trying to hide Batman as like a little teaser.
That'd be
but-
a really weird...
I mean, I feel like they did a shoddy job hiding it though. They're like Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
Wow, Batman. Like.
Okay, and I'm going to add one more dollop of crazy.
Oh, here we go.
So they are going to combat the Scarecrow with the help of Elvira, Queen of Darkness, which is such a, I mean, not to say old reference, but like I barely know what she's from.
I don't know what she's from.
She was like, oh man, I'm going to date my parents and anyone else who's listening to this by saying this, but like, way back, like she was kind of a Dracula-esque figure. People are going to take, I'm going to date my parents out of context, too.
I took it out of context for a minute, too.
Okay, but they fight Scarecrow with the help of Elvira, Queen of the Darkness, and Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
This is the crossover that I knew I always wanted. Oh, okay, so you're telling me we have potential Batman, but confirmed Scarecrow. We have
Yes.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yes.
And then we've got some old vampire that no one's ever heard of. This is it,
Dude,
folks. This is the movie of the century right here.
He soups up the Mystery Machine. It becomes a white Mystery Machine called Mystery Machine X. He's like a hologram, and in the trailer you can see him shooting at like monsters and stuff from the machine.
Wow, that was legendary.
Ah,
Is it gonna
man.
have like Bill Nye himself as the voice? I'd hope.
I hope
mean,
so. I mean, when they do stuff like they've done WWE movies, and I've got to assume they have like John
Yeah,
Cena
I mean,
as John Cena.
I guess you can't have not Bill Nye playing Bill Nye. Like, that's
Right.
just a ripoff. They got to get the deep voice guy to narrate the movie, from Bill Nye, where he's like, hey, Bill. Yeah, like that guy. You need that.
Yeah.
So, that's exciting.
I'm sure we're gonna get at least one like mystery solving rules with like the head rotation. Okay, and I've got one more good movie coming up that I'm excited about.
Here we go.
So, as the viewers may or may not know, DC, even though they've kind of been slacking on live action movies, they are notorious. They have some very good cartoon animated movies. And so we've got Batman Death in the Family coming out soon.
Ooh.
That is the story where the Joker beats the second Robin, Jason Todd, to death, and he comes back to life as Red Hood, one of the coolest anti-heroes in DC canon. But they say that it's interactive somehow.
Like a choose-your-own-adventure novel.
Yes, which is bizarre because the story very clearly ends with Robin dying. So I'm really not sure what we get to choose.
Huh.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. I think choose your own adventure is a bit of a failed concept. If you're gonna choose your own adventure, just play a video game. But with that being said,
I did love the books though, the choose your own adventure books.
Yeah, they can be fun. So I guess I won't knock, but that is interesting. I don't know a whole lot about Red Hood, so that seems like it could be an interesting story. I wonder. I mean, I'm sure since they have to like animate all of this and get the voice acting and everything, I'm sure the choose your own adventure would sort of all follow one general structure with maybe just minor scene variations between the two of them.
Yeah.
But that being said, that is an intriguing concept and one that hasn't really been explored by like mainstream film. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I it could be good.
It hasn't been done well yet.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Like I've not seen a choose your own adventure movie ever. So maybe it's genius. Who knows?
We will see. We will see.
Now when, little kids are screaming at their TV like we did to like Dora or whatever, like
they
can actually, when voice recognition television I'm sure is going to come out in like 2 seconds, right? I mean, they already have like the remotes, but like, now little kids could actually tell the TV like, "Oh my god, it's the Fox." So
hello, kiddies. Yeah. Choose left if you want me to beat Jason Todd to death. Choose right if you want me to blow up the Arkham Asylum.
There it is. So maybe this is an untapped genre for kids. Not that morbid, but
You're sick, Joker. But I'll only do something about it if the viewer presses right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are all the good movies we got coming out soon. Oh, also, Batman Death in the Family, that's October 13th. Keep your eyes out. I'm not exactly sure. I should have looked this up. Almost certainly going to come out on HBO Max because that's kind of where all the DC content is right now.
Is it really?
Yes.
I haven't really checked out HBO Max. We just got it like 2 weeks ago.
This is beautiful. This is not an HBO advertisement, but Elon did just give us access to HBO Max.
Really great.
We got all the DC stuff. We got Studio Ghibli.
The night we got HBO Max,
Uh-huh.
we watched an American cinema classic that you may know as Sky High, which is a wonderful film that it's not on my top 20, but it may as well be because it's just that good. That Sam, and I hear that's your date night movie as well, right there.
I'm trying to think. Have I ever? I mean, I've watched it with Dan, so it might as well be a date one, right?
Hey.
But anyway, those are the movies that are coming out soon, so keep your eyes peeled. Not too much coming out right now, but we got a little bit. We got a little bit to look forward to.
Yeah. I just want everyone to know as well, with how few movies are coming out right now, literally any of these could win Best Picture. So that means that Scooby-Doo x Bill Nye could win Best Picture. Just want to throw that one out there.
I hope it does.
I hope it does too.
And with that, we're taking it to a new segment. We're going to spice it up a little bit. I know everybody has been missing their movie theaters, so I thought maybe we could discuss our favorite movie theater snacks. And I mean, technically, most of these are doable at home as well, but sometimes there's, the icy machine or whatever. So I wanted to discuss specifically what is your go-to snack combo when you go to the movies, Ben?
Okay, this is easy. It's going to be a Slurpee or like a slushy. I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Sure. What flavor?
And a cherry, of course.
Ooh, I'm a blue raspberry man myself.
That's my number 2. Like if the cherry is looking a little like liquidy,
the lights on and it's just pure Kool-Aid.
Exactly. Then I'm getting the blue cherry, right? So yeah, it's a Slurpee every time, and then like some Sour Patch Kids.
Ooh, okay.
There's no other way to go. That's just correct. And Sam, whatever comes out of your mouth is about to be wrong.
Okay, well, see, I guess maybe it's a little controversial. So I like to go with like the blue raspberry slushy. I like to get a big old bag of popcorn.
Ooh, okay, yeah, popcorn's good.
I always overshoot it. I go way too big, and then I've got half a bag that I never eat. It's very wasteful, but it feels like part of the experience.
You put way too much butter on it, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what
you have to do.
I've learned this tip. I think it was from our dear friend Emily Wilborn. Shout out if she's listening to this from Korea. This ingenious tip: you stick a plastic straw into your popcorn bag. You put some butter on top, then you put the butter in the straw, and then it properly disperses it throughout the popcorn bag. Thank you, Emily.
I am actually speechless. That is incredibly intelligent. Wow.
It's so good.
Shout out Emily for that good tip. I'm going to use that next time I go to a movie theater.
Oh yeah. So I like to get a drink, popcorn, and maybe like gummy bears or something if I'm feeling a sweet too. But usually that's enough for me.
All right, I like it. All right, I lied. What you said was not wrong.
Thank you.
I like it.
Your validation means the world.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else to add before we move on? This feels like kind of a quick segment, but it's just a fun little lighthearted thing.
We all miss the theaters sometimes, but then other times you go to the theater and you don't miss it. So
yeah,
who knows?
I miss the nice theaters.
I do too. I will never. I think there's movie theater experiences that we all have.
Yes.
And maybe we don't want to dive too much into this if we want to save it for another time. But we all have those movie theater experiences that we'll always remember for better or for worse.
Oh yeah, lots of good times. I mean, say what you will. I think there are certain aspects of modern movie theaters, but like, I've it's been a net positive experience for me.
For sure. I would agree.
Yeah. Okay, now up next, we have we've done our weekly movie watch.
Yes.
This
is what I've been waiting for all night.
As cinema majors, we watch a ton of movies, but specifically for our weekly show here, we have watched one of the movies that came out probably this week, if not just this month. Well, actually, this will be coming out Wednesday, so probably came out late September. Yeah. But the one we've all been looking at, Enola Holmes.
Enola Holmes, starring Millie Bobby Brown.
Oh, what can be said about this movie besides...
Let's start with the positives, because I think we both agree that this will be the short end of the list.
Yes.
Yeah, we did not like this movie. So
this was a bad movie.
We'll start with what we liked about it. Hang on, I actually want to preface this by saying we did not like this movie, but we were thoroughly entertained by this movie, I would imagine.
Yeah.
At least I was. I had an excellent time watching this with my roommates. But anyway.
It was fun to riff on.
Positives, for me, I'm going to go with, I'll just list off, I think, what I thought was cinematography, surprisingly really good. Like, they had a lot of great angles. They really captured, I think, like a good ambiance with it. Mm-hmm. They set a good mood. Maybe not the correct mood, but they set a good mood. It was.
I mean, if I just watched the movie without listening to it, fantastic movie.
Yeah, exactly. It was visually very impressive. They clearly had a good Netflix budget. Like the costume design as well, we really liked. I think. The set design, or like I guess just like the locations they were shooting at or whatever.
Yeah.
The CGI, which I don't think they used too much, but the CGI was really nice. So it was visually a great movie, and you could tell that the $18 million that Netflix spent on original content last year was at least going somewhere. But I think where it should have been going is writers.
Yeah,
because,
man.
Oh boy, that was a doozy.
Dude, if this is a Sherlock Holmes movie, you could not tell.
It would. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so we will not, as always, we will not spoil anything.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
The general premise of this movie is you've got Enola Holmes, who is the secret sister of Sherlock Holmes. I mean, not really secret, just in the context of, this world, she's just one of his sisters. Sherlock Holmes' mother, played by Helena Bonham Carter, goes missing. So her daughter, Enola Holmes, must find her, while Mycroft and Sherlock come back home. Sherlock works on the disappearance of his mother. Mycroft is just like the most incompetent... If you asked an elementary school child to describe mean adult, it would be Mycroft Holmes in this movie.
Yeah, because Enola becomes his ward after the big initiating event happens of Enola's mother goes missing. So, did not need to be a Sherlock Holmes movie.
Nope.
Henry Cavill was Sherlock Holmes.
And he was pretty charming. I love me some good Cavill.
I love some good Cavill too, but man, what a tremendous waste of an amazing actor. I mean, same for Helena Bonham Carter, honestly. I mean, I thought she was fine. Like, she at least did something in this movie, but again, like,
not much.
They didn't really have too much to do. And then that just gave more screen time for Millie Bobby Brown, which I don't want to rip her too much because I do think a big part of it was the writing, but.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? I'll say it. Just probably not her strongest role.
Yeah. I think the best way to describe it is it felt a little awkward, especially at the beginning. Yes. There was a lot of fourth wall breaks.
Yes.
We really did not like this.
Okay, so throughout the movie, she's doing whatever. She's trying to solve this mystery, and she will just turn to the audience and say something witty and charming, and it's just so jarring.
It really, yeah. It was. It made me feel awkward, I guess. I feel like it really broke up the pace of the movie, and they were, I think, just the movie. I actually said this while we were watching it. They were really going for some like fantastical setting and mood with, and this is where it comes back to not the right mood. They said a good mood, but not the right one. Where they were really going for fantastical, and they achieved that very well, where like really bright colors, vivid visuals, and then these fourth wall breaks with a witty Enola Holmes. It just did not fit the seriousness I think that this movie could have strived for, though.
Yeah. And forgive me, I'm going to say a minor spoiler. If you really want to see this, cover your ears for the next few seconds. But the most egregious example of this is, Enola Holmes is fighting some grown adult man, and he tries to drown her in some sort of giant water bucket. And literally, she pretends to drown so that, he'll let her go. She takes a second to wink at the camera before she emerges and, breathes air to survive.
Yeah.
Okay, you can uncover your ears. It's just, man, it just felt so cheesy.
It was unfortunate.
It was like the cheesiness of a musical, but not a musical.
Yeah. Yes, we thought this actually could have been a decent musical.
Would have been a good musical.
It had that sort of mood, but yeah, it was just weird.
Additionally, it's so hard to spoil the plot because there barely was one. It was just it was like an improv scene where they're trying to determine what the conflict is because we did not get far.
They ended up making the most important plot of this movie the B plot, which is an interesting decision based on what the B plot was. I'm not going to go into it because I think it is a spoiler.
Yeah.
But there is odd character decisions made as the movie progresses that I think didn't really make any sense. I don't want to go too much into it, but it was really just they needed to pad their runtime, I think.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, I'm sure this is fine for the family. I'm sure any kids watching this would love it. Ben, as always, we're going to use our very special rating meter. So what would you rank this movie out of Ben?
Out of Ben?
As always, you're still using a regular number, 1 to 10 out of Ben.
Oh, I see. All right. So 1 to 10 out of Ben. I'm going to give this a solid 2.5.
Oh, that's rough.
I did not think it was very good.
I would give it a 4 out of Ben.
Really? All right.
It was still there was some good bits. It was very beautiful.
Yeah, there were some good gags. And it was beautiful. Yeah. That's where my positives come from, but I just think the writing was such a miss.
Oh yeah.
That it literally gets 0 points for writing.
No, that's fair. It really it was really lacking, sadly. For especially, Sherlock Holmes, I read a ton of the books as a high schooler. I've seen the Robert Downey Jr. movies, I've seen a little bit of the TV show, and more than anything, the whole thing is they have really interesting mysteries to solve and plots and turns and stuff. But this was more than anything kind of Enola evading parental figures and kind of striking out on her own, but not really any interesting problem solving occurring.
Yeah, it was charming but confused.
Also, Sherlock Holmes did 0 deductions.
That too.
That's the most fun part of a Sherlock Holmes movie, where he's like, elementary, my dear Watson. I could tell that he was a coal miner from the soot on his boot.
Exactly. An egregious lack of Watson in this movie as well.
Yeah, he literally not even a character.
Not even existing.
Also,
they explicitly stated that Sherlock Holmes does not have an assistant, which that might have been a gag that we declined to laugh at, but yeah.
It could be a gag. It could be setting this before Watson.
It could be before.
Because they did establish Cavill or Sherlock as a young man.
Yeah.
My last complaint is at one point Lestrade, who is famously the police officer that Sherlock works with, at one point he to a character that already knows him in the context of the movie says, "You know me, I'm Officer Lestrade.
Yeah.
I'm at Scotland Yard." That's again to compare this to an improv scene. That's like
when you have to remind they think they had to remind the audience every 20 minutes of what was happening because
we barely knew.
There was the major plots was the A, B, and C plot, and they would jump between these 3 plots rather liberally. But look, when there's only 20 minutes that passes between working on a different section of plot, the audience does not forget. They're not quite that stupid.
Yeah.
And I think they didn't need to handhold their audience that much. Yeah, that was a pretty... We laughed for a while at that one. It hurt a bit as a writer to see that.
So anyway, as you've heard, Ben ranks that a 2.5 out of Ben. I ranked that a 4 out of Ben. I guess average, that'd be what, 3.25? Something like that out of Ben.
3.25.
So we'll round. We'll say it's a 3 out of Ben.
One more reminder that you're listening to WSOE 89.3 Elon Burlington, home to the best radio shows on this side of the mortal plane. Now let's get back to the chat.
Honestly, wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. If you're with your friends, you might get a good kick out of it, but other than that, do not expect a cinematic masterpiece at all.
In terms of an unironic watch, not particularly enjoyable.
Definitely not.
Gosh. And it's sad because, like, I like all the actors.
Yeah.
I like Cavill. But, you know, kind of a flop, in my opinion.
It was definitely a flop. That's really all there is to say.
That's tragic.
Netflix just needs to hire better writers with the millions of dollars that they spend. I wonder how big of a budget this movie had. I'm sure we could look it up, but it must have been large because it really was beautiful to visually.
All right, so, another segment we always do every week is we like to talk about the drama, the gossip going on in the industry.
What's the theater industry? The movie industry without drama?
I know. Well, hey, it's drama. It's drama for you.
Oh.
So, two main things kind of going on right now behind the scenes. I will accredit, there's a fantastic podcast called The Business, I believe, where you can find it where podcasts are found. They talk a lot more in depth about these things. But right now there's a lot of drama around Tenet and Mulan. So first and foremost, Tenet, Christopher Nolan's new film. It's been in production for a while, but he refused to release it unless it was in theaters.
Yeah. Which
I think is much to their detriment because most people have shown they still do not want to go to a movie theater for a movie.
Yeah, bold move by Nolan. He said something along the lines of that, like, a movie theater is like a integral part of, like, the film experience.
Which is fair enough.
Yeah, and that is fair for sure, but I think it was just bold to even release Tenet right now. I mean, it was a long time coming. It had already been postponed multiple times. I do think it actually released in, like, Europe or something. Like, it did not release in America, at least initially. It might be here now, but yeah, I'm very surprised that he managed to still do that, especially with, I'm sure this film had a sizable budget, knowing Nolan. I mean, Syncope, his company, is incredibly successful by now. He's incredibly successful by now. So I'm interested to see. I'm hoping this doesn't hurt him because, as I said, he's my favorite director. But
it was kind of a dumb choice, for being honest.
It was bold. And there's a very thin line between bold and stupid. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it manages to do. And also it'll be interesting to see as well. I think you can look at the other side of the coin and talk about how it'll help theaters.
Yeah.
Even though, of course, no one wants to go to them, at least having a blockbuster movie like Tenet maybe will help some of them stay afloat. Because, I mean, I know a lot of movie theaters were kind of closing and whatnot during the lockdown and everything. So maybe this could be the stimulus that the theaters needed to stay afloat. And maybe that's part of the reason why Nolan released it. We don't know.
Yeah, I would be surprised, though. So far, it's looked like it's not doing too well because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't read any reviews of the movie or anything to see, because, I mean, all accounts were that this movie was confusing or intricate.
It is time travel, right?
Yeah, it's like, well, they call it something else. Oh, I'm going to forget. But they don't call it time travel because it's like, they're like, not time traveling, they're like gliding through time. It's weird. If you watch the trailer, what I'm talking about will make a little bit more sense. But yeah, so I think it's sort of in the same vein as, say, Inception, which is one of my favorite movies.
Time inversion is what they call it.
Time inversion. Yeah.
Let's be honest, that's a little pretentious. That's time travel.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I would imagine, knowing Nolan, there is like a distinction where it like warrants, something different.
I don't travel through time. Time travels around me.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I think it'll be a bit akin to Inception, where general audiences might not grasp everything on their first watch, or might, be left like a little bit with unanswered questions. So that can maybe hurt its performance, but I'm very, very hopeful that it's doing well.
I mean, I'll be interested. I would watch it if I don't have to go to a theater and risk my safety
absolutely.
for it.
I would have watched it like the day it came out if it was on, I don't know, Netflix or whatever.
Yeah.
But
now, the other big drama right now is going around Disney's Mulan. First of all, making a live-action Mulan was a very interesting choice.
Yeah. Very interesting.
There's a couple levels here. First, they made it PG-13, which right now during the pandemic, I think they couldn't have planned this, but if they had made it more so like the original Mulan, a little more PG, I think it would be appealing to a wider audience. But so the big controversies right now, first, they have made it premium, where even if you have Disney Plus, you still have to pay for it.
Yeah, that's lame. I get why, but that's lame.
I think it's about $30 per TV or whatever you're watching it on. And first, I've just not heard great reviews on it from friends. Second, I just, if I'm already paying $6 or whatever for a streaming service, I don't want to be paying more.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting decisions that they made with this, because Disney Plus is not cheap as far as streaming services go. I think it's actually on this expensive end, or maybe it's on the cheap end. I don't remember.
One of them.
Anyway, Disney Plus has the shallowest library of streaming services by quite a wide margin. So I think to release content and then put it behind a paywall is pretty infuriating for the people like me that are subscribed to Disney Plus, and especially based on I get why they did it, right? Because the movie has to make money, but
right.
I mean they paid for this license to Hamilton. They put it up a year early, and they didn't put it behind a premium subscription. I am sure that license costed quite a lot of money,
and I am thankful for that. Thank you, Disney.
Yes, then we appreciate that.
Fun fact: I actually this summer I interned for Radical Media, which is the company that was paid to record this and distribute it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, super neat. So that's one thing. Most people don't want to pay for it, and honestly, do what you want. I would encourage people not to pay for it because it's going to be free starting December 4th of this year. So if you can wait a few months and prove to Disney that you're not going to pay extra for a service you're already paying for, I think that, benefits us, because if this does well, Disney's going to say, oh, people are willing to pay for it. Exactly. We're going to just keep charging them.
If they charge for season 2 of The Mandalorian, I'm going to be knocking on every single one of your doors. That's all I'm saying, all right? So let's not do that.
Probably the most egregious. Yeah. Certainly the most egregious, because this infringes on human rights. So, as people may or may not know, there's a lot going on in China right now.
Absolutely.
And there's a group of Muslims. I'm not going to say the name because I am certainly going to butcher it.
I don't want to butcher it.
It looks like it's spelled
it's like Uyghur or something.
Uyghur
or Uyghur. But we'll... Yeah.
But... they're essentially being put in concentration camps in China. This is going largely ignored and trying to be covered up. And Disney, because they wanted to be accurate to the film, recorded in several places in China, and specifically some provinces where basically...
out in Tibet and stuff where this is all happening.
Where these concentration camps are.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are very unhappy with that because these are infringing on human rights, and... lots of bad stuff is going on there. Yeah. And so Disney thanked them in the credits, which is not out of place. Essentially, whenever a movie records somewhere, they tend to thank the location for letting them film there. But unsurprisingly, this has upset a lot of people because they're very clearly ignoring this issue going on.
I'd like to jump in for a moment to highlight this wonderful PSA that's been prepared for all you lovely citizens of Earth.
Depression impacts all parts of a person's life. If you have a friend with depression, be understanding and see what you can do to help. And if you think you have depression, help is available. Go to nih.gov and look up information on depression. This is a public service announcement brought to you by WSOE 89.3 Elon, Burlington.
I also think I read, I could be wrong on this, the lead actress in the movie was also not defending China, but...
in the Hong Kong riots, she was in support of the police.
This is what it was. Right, she was supporting the Hong Kong police. So I guess a different controversy, but yeah, so there's been definitely some tensions with Disney and China, which, yeah, I mean, I feel like the fact that a film crew was here or there, I guess... probably a year ago. I mean, this was happening a year ago, and it's only really come to light in the last couple of months. But I mean, this was still going on a year ago, so I think it's really, not a good look from Disney.
Honestly, they have been hitting, snag after bump in the road after bump in the road, and I would feel bad for them if not. A, they're a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate monopoly that is trying to buy up all entertainment. And second, I cannot support these live action remakes. I just want Disney to make a new property, please.
Exactly. They could have taken a risk on a movie about a woman samurai. That would have been so entertaining, right?
That would have been awesome.
But this isn't even the first controversy that's happened recently between Disney and China. Not really. This other one wasn't really a controversy, but when The Rise of Skywalker came out, there was the same-sex kiss at the end.
Right.
And people were talking about that and everything, and that was cool. And then, but like for the Disney cut, and I think the Russian cut as well, they were mandated to edit that out. And they just, they edited it out and shipped it to China. And people are like, why are you going to like put in this political statement in your movie and, then not show it everywhere, or just roll over when these big countries ask you not to. And I mean, I understand, they need to make money, but I think it's just weird to me that they keep running into these snags with China. And I mean, there's definitely a lot going on with China in the world right now in general, but so with Mulan, I mean, it's really come to a head. All the more reason not to spend your extra money on Mulan and to wait until it becomes free, right? So.
Yeah. So, do what you will. I recommend not watching Mulan until it's free. I recommend not watching Tenet until you can do it safely from your own home.
Absolutely.
And that has been The Drama with Ben and Sam.
The Drama with Ben and Sam.
All right, so I figure we can wrap up here. It is October. We're recording this October 1st. This will come out, I think, October 4th. But October 4th? Wait, hold on.
No, wait. It's like 6 days from now if it comes
October
out on Wednesday. So it's
7th?
7th.
Let me double check that just so yeah, okay. So people are listening to this October 7th. So, it's spooky season.
It is spooky season.
It's time for horror. It's time for hijinks. I actually have concocted a movie watch list of 31 movies, one each night, to get us in the Halloween mood. So, Ben, I was curious if you... And you know what? I feel like we've probably discussed this before, maybe even on radio.
I think...
But
are you going to ask me what my favorite Halloween movie is?
Yeah, and where do we stand on Halloween and horror movies in general?
Okay, well, horror movies I'm actually not a fan of.
I personally, I'm a massive baby. I acknowledge that some of the best movies like Hereditary and It Follows are horror movies, and that's sad because I have to watch them because they're good, but they're horror, so I'm a baby. But I do not like it as a genre.
Yeah, I don't know. I would rather enjoy what I'm watching, and being stressed out the whole time is not enjoyable to me, unless it's a thriller. I like thrillers. I do not like horror, though. But
thriller is very appropriate for Halloween.
Yeah. This should just be our outro.
It's close to the end of the show. Thriller night. All right.
Excellent.
All right. Favorite Halloween movie.
Favorite Halloween movie. Okay. Off the top of my head, maybe you go first.
That's a great off the top of your head movie. Okay. A couple great Halloween movies. I tend to like more so like the ironically enjoyable ones. Like there's one called Scary Godmother, which is actually quite good. It's this like early 2000s, surprisingly pretty funny. It's this story about like a kid who like doesn't want to trick or treat with his cousin, so he like leaves her in a graveyard, and then this like witch finds her and she's like, I'll be your scary godmother, and they just throw like a party for like vampires and skeletons, and every character is so much fun. And there's a skeleton who talks like every skeleton, and he's like, I haven't eaten for so long, I'm just skin and bones.
That is Sam's improv character right there in that show, everyone.
Oh, that's my main archetype, sadly. So that's fun. I love any Scooby-Doo movie, really. Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase is particularly enjoyable.
Nice. And now we're gonna have the first Scooby-Doo Halloween movie.
Oh yes.
Right.
And not exactly Halloween, but I do like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That's fun because it takes Jekyll and Hyde, The Invisible Man, several other famous British
Jekyll and Hyde
folklore.
Is a phenomenal musical for those that have not seen
Yes, it is. That is
really
a goodie. And it kind of, pits them against Moriarty, James Moriarty.
Right.
Jim Moriarty?
Moriarty.
And it's like a fun, like, British Avengers romp around London. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right, I finally figured out what my favorite Halloween movie was because I knew it was on the tip of my tongue.
Okay.
Young Frankenstein.
Oh, that's
Mel
good.
Brooks. I love Mel Brooks. Like Blazing Saddles, Spaceballs. Spaceballs actually makes my top 20. Blazing Saddles might as well, but
Dude, sorry to report, I do not like Spaceballs.
you don't?
No, I just watched it for the first time, and something about it.
It's classic.
I think if I saw it as a kid, I'd really like it.
It's just fun. But anyway, I'm a big fan of Mel Brooks, his style of comedy and everything. And Young Frankenstein is just fun.
That's a goodie.
It's just like Gene Wilder, rest in peace. He died a while ago now, I guess, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's amazing. And then you have Igor, who is just the writing for Igor is some of the most genius comedy writing ever. Like, his shoulder like switching sides and like him, whose brain is it? Abby someone. Abby who? Abby normal. Abnormal. Like that's just good writing.
It's
That's
so good.
entertaining. And it's just a fun movie. Mel Brooks is great, so that has to be my bid.
That's a goodie. And obviously putting on the Ritz. It's just such a great gag.
Yeah. And then if I had to choose a runner-up for movies, like a Halloween movie, Ghostbusters. I love Bill Murray. Big fan of Bill Murray. The movie itself is not particularly amazing.
Yeah.
But it's full of one-liners and stupid gags. I mean,
it's fun.
It's a comedy.
I'll give you. It's fun. I do not. It's one of those movies. I'm kind of amazed that it got as big as it did.
I am too, because I think it's the premise is fun.
It's
and,
iconic.
It's carried by Bill Murray. I would say. I mean, it's got a good cast outside of him, but I would say the movie is kind of carried by him.
Yeah.
But it's just it's stupid, but it's just fun. I don't know. It's got great lines. And I'm a big fan of like one-liners. So
Now,
I think that's good.
A little bit of fun facts, a little trivia, because I don't know why, but last time I watched Ghostbusters, I did a deep dive into the trivia behind it. And so Dan Aykroyd, who played, I want to say Spangler.
Yeah, the smart guy.
Yeah, so Dan Aykroyd wrote the movie. I think initially Bill Murray's character was supposed to be played by Jim Belushi.
Yeah, there was some weird casting stuff that happened with this movie. I know.
I know that, as I'm sure we all know, Zedmore famously and unfortunately gets significantly less screen time and lines than the other ones.
Yeah.
And this is because he was supposed to be played by Eddie Murphy, who for whatever reason could not do it or did not want to do it. So they were kind of we still need a fourth one.
Started shooting or something when that happened or something.
Yeah.
There was some shady stuff behind that character, I know.
But so the most interesting fact I would say is that originally the script was way longer, way crazier, involved multi-dimensional travel and they had to fight 13 different forms of the Stay Puft Dude.
Wow.
And
that
there
sounds like a anime.
Yeah.
You know.
And there was going to be a bunch of different Ghostbuster teams from different dimensions. And so ultimately they had to dumb it down for us. But these days,
it's already still crazy. This is the dumbed down version, everyone.
I could see it working nowadays. I think back then it was a little too crazy, a little too ahead of its time. I could see something with multi dimensions. Back then, I'm sure it was kind of a foreign idea.
Yeah, but I think it's also hard to mix comedy with confusing plot, or not confusing plot, but
Intricate?
Intricate plot. That's a good way to describe it. So maybe that would also pose a challenge. But yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it being pulled off. I feel like nowadays people are really into more complex filmmaking than what happened back in the 80s or whatever Ghostbusters came out. I mean, if you think back to just movies that people like these days, I mean, Marvel movies or superheroes, still pretty straightforward filmmaking, I would say. But big, like I mentioned, Christopher Nolan, his intricate plot lines. Even Spielberg starting to sort of mix up his movies a little bit, make them a little bit more tougher to navigate, I would say. So I think that's definitely something that people are more open to these days.
Yeah, definitely. So that was our favorite Halloween movies.
There it is.
Well, that's going to about do it for our show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, it has been an absolute pleasure. Hope to see you again next week. Ben, any final messages for the viewers?
I've thoroughly enjoyed being on, and I hope to see you all really soon. It's been great.
Oh, yes. We'll see you guys next week. Tune in again for more movie mayhem.
Movie mayhem with Sam and Ben.
Well, now, wasn't that wonderful? Kind of makes me want to go to the theaters myself. But then again, I'm already a ghost and cannot be infected with the coronavirus. So, y'all should probably stay home for the time being. As always, it's been a pleasure to travel the cosmic waves with y'all. This has been the Sam Porozok _hour with your multiversal MC on WSOE 89.3 Elon Burlington. Until next time, stay cool, ghouls.